Wait a minute. Was that a smile I just saw?
A twitch. More of a tick, really.
I knew you were having fun. Why hide it? You need to learn how to laugh out loud at the ridiculous horror of all this.
Hey, hello, how do you do? Shady Doorags here. Why, hello again, my Daria exclusive viewers. Did you miss me? Well, I've returned, and I got that fix you crave so much. Of course, I'd return to it more often if you guys gave me King of the Hill or Justice League numbers. I guess you intellectuals just don't want this show bad enough. I know I keep teasing you guys with talks of reviewing Daria the musical and Die My Darling, and it was my plan to talk about one of those, but here's the thing.
Just say the thing.
In my previous Daria videos, I got a couple of comments about how in order to fully understand Die My Darling, you need the context of one of its parent episodes, I Loathe the Parade, and yeah, I agree. Without that context, there's a pretty big chunk of the conversation missing. Of course, there's also the episodes Fire, Mart of Darkness, and Psychotherapy, but I Loathe the Parade is where it all starts. So today we're taking a look at, well, I Loathe the Parade, specifically with the intent of preparing for Die My Darling. The episode starts at the Morgendorfer house. Daria is watching television when Quinn comes in.
Daria, have you seen my new Teenage Superstars magazine?
I couldn't help myself. I've plastered my walls with its hot, sexy pinups.
Okay, I've made it clear that Daria is a hilarious show, but this episode in particular goes the extra mile. I cracked up a ton while watching it, but my scripted laughter becomes obnoxious if I do it too much in one video, so rather than do that every time a good joke is shown, I'm just gonna start a counter.
Daria, have you seen your father?
Did you look under the Teenage Superstars magazine?
Quinn and Helen find each other and get knee deep into a conversation on their way out of the house. Both of y'all were looking for something. How did that result in y'all leaving? Helen is even still talking about finding Jake on her way out the door.
Enjoying a good book. Now, did you see your father? When was the last?
This is one of many moments where I suspect the writers want us to conclude that Helen and Quinn get along with each other well and have the more compatible dynamic of the family, which makes sense. Both Helen and Quinn are very social and spend a lot of time communicating. Plus, the fact that they're both go-getters gives them a lot to talk about and bond over. Meanwhile, both Jake and Daria actively avoid spending time with their family, as doing so tends to disrupt their peace. Seconds after Quinn and Helen leave, Daria hears a cry for help.
Is anybody out there? Am I the only one left in the house?
If I help you with the first question, will you try to do the second one on your own?
Daria, thank God! Your mother's at her work thing and Quinn's at her school thing and...
They just left. What are you talking about? They're probably still right outside the house.
I thought I'd be stuck in here forever.
Listen closely. There's a knob on the door. Turn it counterclockwise.
Jake explains his crisis, revealing that there's no toilet paper left in the house.
Could you hurry over to Drugs and Stuff and pick up a few rolls?
I get stuck on the hurry part.
Jake offers Daria $20 to help him out, but she'll only get the money if she's back in less than 10 minutes. Yeah, this is something the Morgendorfer parents do that I have a bit of a problem with. They, or rather Helen, often bribe Daria to get her to do the right thing. Now, I can see the logic as to why they do it. Daria is at an age where she should be practicing making her own decisions, so constantly forcing her to do things she doesn't want to do would more than likely cripple her decision-making skills and make her more easily exploitable. But the problem is that constantly bribing someone would likely teach them that all deeds should be transactional, even ones they're doing to help themselves or their loved ones. This especially stings when you have knowledge of certain other episodes like Boxing Daria, where it's shown that Jake and Helen put up with a lot more than Daria realizes. How would she feel if her parents wanted something every time she needed their help?
You're on. See you in a few minutes.
Hurry, kiddo! This Teenage Superstars magazine is only 64 pages.
This one didn't make me laugh, but it had a good build-up with a decent punchline, so I'm adding it to the counter. Daria heads to the store, but for some reason it's chock full of people. Why do we say that? Is it because chalk boxes are tightly packed?
You mean the crowd? Well, what do you expect on homecoming night?
Homecoming night.
Okay, I wasn't exactly old enough to be paying attention in the 90s, so maybe times were different back then. But when I was in high school in the 2000s, whether you were a jock or a geek, an introvert or an extrovert, everyone knew when homecoming was because the school would never shut up about it. For like a month straight, there'd be constant announcements reminding you about the dance, game, parade, etc. So it's difficult for me to believe that this event snuck up on Daria, even though she'd never be caught dead at a homecoming parade. Outside the store, Daria sees Miss Defoe helping students paint windows. Nothing really happens here, but I have to mention it because it sets something up that will come back later.
Now, Gary, don't you dare.
No, people, treasure your medium.
Eventually, Daria runs into Jane, freaking finally, and neither can believe that the other showed up. Jane has a date with Tom with plans to enjoy the parade ironically, but Tom seems to be running late. And once again, I must state that Jane has a tendency to look for opportunities in all situations, which is why I'm drawn to her more than Daria.
Where's Tom? He was supposed to be here 15 minutes ago.
Just because he's a few minutes late doesn't mean he's an inconsiderate jerk who will ultimately bring you nothing but misery.
I'm glad you're starting to warm to him.
If sarcasm was a sport, these girls would take the gold. Daria leaves her friend hoping to cross the street. Oh, we're done with Jane? I mean, I guess that makes sense. She has no reason to stay with Daria, but I really do prefer when the girls are together. Anyway, Daria's attempts are foiled by Principal Lee.
Ms. Morgendorfer, where do you think you're going?
Slowly insane.
I'm having trouble deciding who's the queen of witty dialogue. Jane's greatest lines are the most hard-hitting, but Daria's are consistently good. She's always on her A game.
I can't just permit spectators to cross a parade route. If you were to get impaled on a float or sexually harassed by a clown, things could get ugly.
I mean, yeah, that's true.
Things already have, but I don't have time to debate this right now.
Don't blame Miss Lee, Daria. She's just trying to help. After all, you seem to be developing a case of disappearing feet, and Lee knows how hard it can be to try and cross the street with that condition. Daria continues to try and get home, running into the Lawndale High mascot, who ropes her into more shenanigans. She finally sees an opportunity to cross the street, but...
Tad?
Oh yeah, that's right. This is season 4. Continuity is actually a thing now. I would not have guessed we'd see Tad here, or ever again for that matter. For those of you who don't know, long story short, Tad Gumpty and his sister Lauren are 2 kids who Quinn regularly babysits. Daria knows them because she filled in for Quinn once. Tad tells Daria he got separated from his parents after getting distracted by a windmill he saw in a store window.
Let's find you a cop.
Oh no. My dad says police officers too often utilize excessive force in their quest for efficient pacification. Some things never change.
Given how the Gumptys think and act, one would think they'd have a pro-police outlook.
Won't you stay with me, Daria?
Much to my surprise, my conscience tells me I should help you find your parents.
That's called maternal instincts, Daria. You can be asocial and accept bribes all you want, but that nagging Jiminy Cricket just won't let you abandon a child in need, especially when you know. While searching for Tad's parents, Daria comes across Tom. Geez, a lot of characters in this episode. Naturally, the two start talking about Jane and come to realize that there was a misunderstanding about where Tom was supposed to meet her.
I guess it was just a big misunderstanding.
That's what Pol Pot said.
He didn't mean to kill 2 million people. He only wanted to scare them.
Would you look at that?
Anyway, who's this?
Tad.
Hiya, Tad. I'm Tom.
Hi, Tom.
Mind if I tag along with you guys?
Squatted down to his level, looked him in the eye, politely addressed him. Tom, your upbringing is showing you do indeed know how to handle people. I guess it's time I finally dive into Tom's character. I've been avoiding it because my feelings for him change as the series goes on, and I was hoping to discuss this when it was most relevant, but I'm not exactly sure when that will be, so I guess I'll get it all out now. As a person, I really like Tom. He's forthcoming like Daria, optimistic like Jane, and also very polite. A unique trait he adds to the group, which he has because his family is upper class and well versed in rubbing elbows. As a whole, he's a breath of fresh air because he forces Daria to see perspectives she normally avoids, which we saw in Jane's addition and will see more of in this episode. However, as a character, I think I ultimately have to say that I don't like Tom, and that's because his entire existence thematically revolves around Daria. There is not one episode where this dude gets his own arc nor deals with his own problems. He's always there specifically as an add-on for Daria and or Jane, which I was fine with for the first couple of episodes he was in, but it got grating after a while. Not to mention, he's a bit too close to a Gary Stu. He's not perfect, Die My Darling will demonstrate that, but he's presented as being correct far too often. If someone takes away from Daria when she's learning a lesson, and Tom is, once again, put into the story just to teach it to her. Ultimately, Tom isn't the worst character in the world, but he feels like a theme device more than anything else. So the further I get into the show, the more difficult he is to enjoy. Now Tom has joined Daria's group, and the three head down the street together looking for both Jane and Tad's parents. As they do, Daria finds her usual witty banter being tested.
I've never seen this street so crowded before.
It is a stunning array of pod people.
And I suppose your Ivy Choke prep school is any better. Wait a minute, was I just defending Lawndale?
You know, I think you were.
Would that be defending? She didn't say Lawndale was good, just that another place is likely just as bad. I'm not sure about that one. Tom suggests that hopping a float would help with searching. Of course, the asocial, introverted, and athletically challenged Daria hates this idea.
You gotta embrace the nightmare.
I know that you and Jane see this whole thing as a big joke, but that's not me.
All the
This waving is making my arm tired. Isn't there something else we can do?
Must think masculine thoughts.
There was until someone handed out all our headshots at once.
Must not let audience know that I like these outfits.
I didn't mean to. Oh, I should have paced myself better.
They love these hairstyles.
Queen, isn't that your relative or whatever walking toward us?
Oh no.
Daria and the gang successfully hop Quinn's float, but as soon as they get up there, the fashion club want to give Daria a makeover, causing her to lose her toilet paper.
Call them off, or I start hugging you.
You wouldn't dare.
That product was tested on bunnies and kitties.
It was?
Duh, that's why we use it.
Okay, come on, I get one scripted laugh. That's not obnoxious, right? I'm sorry, I just can't with these line deliveries. They make the jokes hit so much harder.
Wait till I tell my parents I met an animal abuser.
Uh-oh, the animals are about to exact their revenge.
Tom steps in and does the gentleman thing, standing up for Daria and shooing the mascot away. And to his surprise, Daria actually likes this. And then, through a series of unfortunate events, a parade float explodes. Nope, you're not getting any more context.
Now, aren't you glad you were here to see this?
Well, I definitely understand why you wanted to share this with Jane.
Uh-oh.
By now, she'd be so busy snapping pictures, she'd forget I was even here. You know how she is.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Thanks for getting lost in the moment with me.
You're welcome.
Uh-oh! Before things get too awkward, Tom and Daria realize that Tad is gone. Elsewhere, oh no! I forgot this subplot was here. I mean, it doesn't have anything to do with the A plot, so I could skip over it. But it's about race and I'm black. People are gonna be annoyed if I don't talk about it. Fine, whatever. So the episode has a few minor subplots going on with side characters. Upchuck, Brittany, Kevin, etc. One such subplot is about how Jody and Mac are frustrated that they're voted homecoming king and queen every year. The frustration comes from the fact that they suspect it's only happening because of their town's guild for having a lack of diversity. I guess you could say they're against DEI. They're also annoyed because even though they don't want to give into the charade, it helps them with preparing for college, which if you know this show, you know is a major point for Jody. The two consider abandoning their post, but the subplot ends with Jody being inspired to stay after she sees a young black girl, alluding that she's happy she can inspire someone else similar to her. It also might allude that she thinks she's making a difference in the town's diversity. Okay, let's take this one step at a time. Firstly, here's a shot of the crowd, and here's another. Not exactly seeing a lack of diversity. I can't tell if this was done on purpose to showcase Jody and Mac are unnecessarily complaining, or if the showmakers just forgot to make the scene match what's being said here. Second, I always get annoyed when something obviously good happens to a character, but they can't help but feel they have to focus on the bad. Learn to be thankful, people. Is it really so hard to find the good in being consistently voted for homecoming king and queen, which you two admit will help you with college? Lastly, and here's the big one. Again, I was a wee lad in the 90s. I don't have the best recollection of what things were like for high schoolers back then, so maybe race is a legit talking point for the show. But here, in the 2020s, I'm just so sick of this topic. It's been talked about so freaking much over the last decade, and not even that well. Now, with all that being said, removing my emotions from this, I actually side with Jody and Mac. Being judged by your ethnicity when merit should be the deciding factor is annoying, whether it's good or bad. It's just... Jody in particular puts a lot of stock into her race and often jumps to the conclusion that it's a factor in things, so I don't know for sure if DEI practices were the actual reason these two were chosen. Maybe I've just lost the ability to objectively analyze any plot that has racial themes, but that's not going to stop me from complaining. Trying. Back to Daria.
Hey, it could be worse.
Let's see. In the past half hour, I've lost the chance to make $20.
It's a minor detail, Shady. Don't focus on it.
Lost my dignity on a float.
It's a minor detail, Shady. Don't focus on it.
And oh yeah, I lost a 7-year-old child.
It's a minor detail, Shady. Don't focus on it.
Weren't you also carrying some toilet paper before?
Yeah. Okay, now I'm in.
Half hour? Wait a minute. Quinn left the house looking like this right before you went to the store. It took you less than 10 minutes to get the toilet paper. If you've only been gone for half an hour, that means the episode is trying to tell me that a teenage girl went from this to this in less than 10 minutes. I call shenanigans on that. Anyway, the whole point of that scene was to show that even though Daria is having a pleasant time with Tom, it's not all good. In fact, from a certain perspective, it looks mostly bad, building on the theme of why it's difficult for her to leave her comfort zone. Eventually, the Gupties show up with Tad in hand, thankful that Daria looked out for him this whole time.
How can we ever repay you?
I hear uncut diamonds are as good as cash on the open market.
After Tad leaves, the Lawndale Lion shows up yet again, but this time he faints.
Hello?
I can't believe it. It's Mr. O'Neill.
And he would have gotten away with it if it weren't for us meddling kids.
Meanwhile, slightly over to the left.
I don't care what your excuse is, Don Guano. You need to roll this car out of the way right now.
Calm down. It's broken. It's not like he's trying to hold up the parade.
Feisty.
Ow!
They're gonna kill him.
Let's not get our hopes up.
Thanks, Daria.
Oh, goodness. Ted, you're alive. I legit thought the show banished you to the land of characters who mess up the status quo. Never to be seen again.
It's for the yearbook. I'm getting some really great pictures of couples tonight.
Also, that's a bit of a kick in the teeth for me since I originally shipped Daria and Ted. Finally, Daria and Tom find Jane. They tell her about their adventure, and she is shocked the two managed to spend time together without eating each other alive. Wanting to hear more, Jane grabs Tom to go for pizza and invites Daria along as well. Daria is hesitant given she's been trying to get away from everyone, but momentarily decides to join them. Unfortunately, that's when Chekhov's paint intervenes.
I can't believe this. Are you okay?
I'm...
Here, take my jacket. Wish I'd worn my cape.
Huh?
Tom and Jane still want Daria to come out with them, but the paint was what Daria needed to return to her comfort zone. Although, it's not clear if it was the paint itself or Tom's reaction to it that made her change her mind. Come to think of it, Daria is normally perfectly comfortable at the pizzeria. She might have been hesitating to go in the first place specifically because of Tom.
Come on.
Yeah, come on, Daria.
I'm kind of beat.
Okay. See you around.
Ah, they too speak introvert.
She looked back at you. Dude, she might be thinking something else.
The episode ends with a reminder that Jake is still stranded in the bathroom. And that was I Loathe the Parade. It's not one of my favorites, but the episode is pretty fun nonetheless. It's great to see so many different characters utilized in so many different ways. Daria being forced to leave her comfort zone and see the good in something she normally views as bad is handled pretty well. She saw the positives of trying to enjoy something she normally wouldn't, but the episode kept things realistic and didn't shy away from the negatives. Also, in case you couldn't tell from my subtle hinting, there's a bit more going on with her and Tom. Of course, in order for any of this to occur, Jane still has to be a part of the picture, but also be out of the way, which the episode finds a clever way to make happen, so bonus points for that. And the comedy, my goodness, the comedy. This might just be the funniest episode of Daria. All in all, fantastic episode, but it is just a buffer. Let's see if we can actually get to where we intended to go without getting distracted by something else along the way. Just like Daria did. Wow, that came full circle. This has been Shady Doorags. So long. Farewell. Auf Wiedersehen. Goodbye.